And we have returned to listening to CSC Talk Radio. This is Beth Ann. Tom, I found one of the quotes that I wanted to share with you, and then I'm going to let you kind of take it off. We're in the final segment of today's show. It says, there is not a more dangerous experiment, and I believe this is what they're up to. There's not a more dangerous experiment than to place property in the hands of one class and political power in those of another. If property cannot retain the political power will draw after it, the property. And that was from Daniel Webster. And, you know, they want the land. They really do want the land. They don't want anyone to have private property. And, of course, that's, you know, the first thing on the agenda of the Communist Manifesto. And socialism is right there with it. And that's why they keep talking about the property and the land and the environment, because they're trying to get a hold of it and take it away from the people. And that's why they hate rural Americans as well. So I'm going to kind of let you take that over and talk like, you know, pick up where you were when we went into that break as well.
Yeah. Well, when you control, if you want to control the people, and you know your whole point is to have power over the people,
right,
and dictate everything they think, do, and say. You mentioned China a little bit ago, and here they have in China this whole system where they're watching everything you do, and then you're judged. You have a scorecard of whether you're a good little person or not, and you can be slowly controlled more and more and more in this way. I found it interesting watching these Hong Kong demonstrations. One of the things they did was they took a chainsaw to the towers, the cell towers, and holding the cameras and other things that they use to listen to them and so forth. These people know this is how they're controlling us, and step by step, this is what we're doing here. Why do they want to move people into the cities? Well, they can control our energy use, they control our travel, they control exactly how we live, and we can begin to implement this kind of a system of judging us by what we say, who we congregate with, and that sort of thing. One of the things I'm really concerned about as I'm watching what's taking place now is like the rise of Antifa. The purpose of Antifa, they are nothing more than Hitler's brown shirts. And if you know history, which of course none of these people do, but if you know history, you know that Hitler used those brown shirts to make people afraid to congregate and afraid to speak out. If they did, they were going to get beat up, probably killed. I am seeing that happen around the country now, where even where I go to speak, I hear people talking about, well, and maybe we probably have to get some security or something. People are becoming afraid to assemble and speak out, and that is the front line of tyranny, and this is what we're seeing happen.
And I've watched this too, and it's deeply concerning. And then they have AOC that they actually raised funds for an Antifa that had been arrested, and then we have AOC saying, well, I think it's okay for you to slug a policeman in the face. You know, so the logic there, if you just look at it, stand back and look at it, America, you can see what they're promoting. It isn't President Trump who's dividing this nation.
Every single issue that we are dealing with today, just about every single issue, can trace it right back to the agenda for the 21st century, which they called a comprehensive blueprint for the reorganization of human society. That's what they said Agenda 21 was in 1992. Yes. That is exactly what it is, and every single aspect of our society is, being affected by it. And we were talking about, fighting back, and I mentioned the President's Council on Sustainable Development. Yes. I just mentioned this to show you how it has become the law of the land. The people who were on that roundtable, on that the President's Council, were representatives of every single federal agency, and people like groups like the Sierra Club, the World Wildlife Fund, the Nature Conservancy, who helped write Agenda 21 at the UN level, and global corporations were also represented on there. And so here we had these people deciding what was going to happen. they wrote into these grant programs from every single agency, the small print was, if a community took that grant, then here's what you had to do to comply to it. And that was the implementation of Agenda 21, cutting back on energy use, cutting back on transportation, cutting back on, any other thing with the environment, and, controlling how the comprehensive blueprint for the reorganization of human society. And now these NGO organizations went into the states. They got the states to agree to pass legislation that said every community had to do a comprehensive development plan, and then they went into the cities and said, oh, you need to do a comprehensive plan. Don't worry about it. Got it all right here in a box for you. Got the money for you, too. And that's how it has been, has risen up over all this time. What we are advocating is, if you're going to fight, first of all, don't do it alone. You can't do this alone. You need to organize, get a core group of 10 or 15 people. Do the research. We've got some things to teach you how to do that, and we're beginning to put these out. And find out all the details in your community. We've actually kind of created a city survey, getting to know your community, asking various questions, and who are these NGO groups working there, and so forth. And if you can begin to focus just on property rights, we've got a resolution to protect citizens' property rights. You could put in front of your city councilman and ask them to sign it. If they refuse to sign it, you have now a means to run a campaign against them on that issue. Begin to make property rights the main issue that in your community. If you can protect the property rights in your community, you can begin to preserve your liberty, and that can move up to the state level and then up to the federal level. It isn't going to come the other way.
Well, let's give them your website and tell them how to get some of that, get a hold of you.
Yeah, on our website is AmericanPolicy.org. And we have various things on there. First of all, my latest book is Sustainable, The War on Free Enterprise, Private Property, and Individuals. I wrote it as a handbook for activists to have all the background information. All these things we've talked about today are pretty much in there. And I tell who the players are, what the programs are to watch for, and in the end we talk about things you can do to fight back. These other things I mentioned, the resolution for the protection of citizens' property rights are on there. We've got a little booklet you can download, Why Property Matters, and we've got another booklet called Agenda 21 and How to Stop It. And these things are all available there, and they'll give you the background, and they'll help you understand what this is about and what to do about it.
This is so important, so important. Well, I want to talk to you how we can help get that in the hands of the listeners too. They'll hear it once, but then they'll forget about it. They won't write it down. So we need to make an avenue so they can do that. Thank you, Tom, for being with us today. I appreciate it so much. I don't know if I'll get to talk to you before Thanksgiving or not, but you have a great and happy Thanksgiving. And let's remember what it's all about, our founding fathers coming here for freedom. Thank you again, Tom, for all that you do at the American Policy Center. AmericanPolicy.org is where you can check out all this information. You know, it's time we all got together. We need to know our rights, and we need to bring America home.